The screen glows with the neon lights of a city that never sleeps, yet in the heart of this urban forest, the warmth of human connection is rapidly cooling into a calculated transaction. You have seen the polished images of television dramas where love is grand, expensive, and effortless. But the 51 million people living in this pressure cooker of a peninsula are telling a very different story. We are witnessing the systemic collapse of the romantic dream in South Korea, and it begins with a sound you might not expect: the crisp notification of a mobile banking app. In 2024, the cost of a single date in Seoul has skyrocketed to a point where a simple dinner and a movie can consume 50% of a young worker's daily wage. This economic reality has birthed a unique cultural artifact known as the joint dating fund. At first glance, it seems like the ultimate expression of modern equality. A couple opens a shared bank account, each depositing an identical amount of money every month to cover their shared expenses. But look beneath the surface of this 50-50 split. This is not just about financial management. It is a defensive maneuver born from a profound lack of social trust. In a society where the total fertility rate has plummeted to a record low of 0.72, every interaction is being scrutinized through the lens of a cost-benefit analysis. The traditional social contract, where the older male figure was expected to carry the financial burden as a show of stability, has been shredded by 2 decades of stagnant wages and hyperinflation. In its place, a hyper-rational, almost corporate negotiation of affection has emerged. If one partner contributes 5,001 more to the meal, the other feels an immediate, unspoken pressure to balance the ledger. This is the era of the human calculator. We are seeing a generation that has mastered the art of survival in a hyper-competitive landscape, now applying those same cold metrics to the sanctuary of the heart. Every gesture of love is quantified, logged, and audited. The psychological toll of this constant accounting is immense. It transforms a romantic outing into a performance review. When you are tracking every 101, the space for spontaneity and genuine sacrifice disappears. Why has this happened? It is the intersection of extreme economic anxiety and the digital panopticon of social media. In a country where smartphone penetration is nearly 100%, life is lived through a lens of constant comparison. A date is no longer a private moment between two people. It is a content production cycle designed to satisfy the algorithm of social status. If the restaurant does not have a 5-star aesthetic, or if the gift does not carry a luxury logo that costs 3 months of rent, the relationship is perceived as a failure. We are entering a period where the barrier to entry for love has been set so high that the majority of the youth are simply choosing to opt out. They are not just refusing to marry, they are refusing to even begin the calculation. This is the beginning of our deep dive into the rot of the modern dating market. A story of how one of the world's most advanced economies forgot how to value the things that cannot be counted on a screen. To understand the depth of this calculation, we must look north toward the Swedish model of existence. Imagine a child of 8 sitting in a restaurant with his parents. When the bill arrives, something happens that would shock most of the Eastern world. 2 separate plastic cards are presented to the waiter. This is not a sign of a failing marriage or a cold, distant household. It is the order. In Sweden, equality is not a slogan. It is a physical, measurable labor. If one partner carries a heavy bag, the other pushes the cart or drives the vehicle. It is a strict 1-to-1 ratio of energy expenditure. This is the world inhabited by Henry, known to many as Splegukin, a man who bridges the gap between the icy logic of Scandinavia and the heated emotionalism of East Asia. In the Swedish dating market, a woman offered a free meal by a man does not feel cherished. She feels offensive pressure. She sees a $50 steak not as a gift, but as a unilateral debt that creates an unwanted power imbalance. To her, protection is a trap, and she is a sovereign entity who pays her own way to maintain her freedom. Contrast this with the local concept of deep affection and mutual debt, an ancient sentiment often described as an irrational bond of shared destiny. On the surface, it looks like generosity, but underneath, it is a high-risk emotional gamble. It creates what we call the invisible ledger. In the West, settling the bill is a mechanism for closing a transaction. You pay, I pay, the interaction is finished, and we remain horizontal partners. There is no I owe you. But in the local model, the logic is delayed reciprocity. One person pays today with the unspoken, silent expectation that the other will pay tomorrow. The problem is that no 2 ledgers are ever synchronized. One person's mental accounting is always more inflated than the other's. This creates a mountain of unpaid emotional interest that eventually causes the entire relationship to collapse. It is a transition from feudal vassalage to modern contract law that the society has yet to fully navigate. This traditional bond is a feudal remnant where a provider offers resources in exchange for loyalty, while the Swedish model represents a modern social contract between 2 independent citizens. We are witnessing a ghost of feudalism haunting the carcass of capitalism. In this system, we see the debt phobia of the North clashing with the entitlement virus of the East. A Swedish woman fears the debt because it compromises her status. A local woman, conditioned by a hyper-competitive society, often views the gift as a validation of her market value. This leads to a technical failure we call linear accumulation of resentment. Every 50,000 won spent without a corresponding return adds a stress point to the relationship. Once these points exceed the threshold of infatuation, the male undergoes a sudden reality alignment. The magic disappears, and the relationship ends in a ghosting event. This happens because Sweden is a high-trust society where the state guarantees survival, while the local environment remains a low-trust space where paying is the only proof of investment. It is the difference between a synchronized dance of two gears and one person pulling a sled, while the other sits on it, critiquing the speed of the journey. In a world moving toward autonomous partnership, the choice is clear. We either balance the scale to the last decimal point, or we watch the foundation of our connections rot under the weight of unfulfilled expectations. This leads us into the heart of the blind date meat grinder, where the male is transformed into a temporary venture capitalist. Imagine entering a circuit where each encounter acts as a high-stakes entry fee. We are talking about 50,000 to 80,000 Korean won just to sit across from a stranger. This covers the ritualistic meal and coffee, a total bill he is socially mandated to settle. If he repeats this cycle 10 times, he has effectively hemorrhaged 600,000 Korean won on defective inventory individuals he will never see again. He is funding an experience economy for strangers with zero return on investment. The logic here is a reaction economy. The male provides tangible assets, hard currency, while the female contributes only her presence. Historically, this mirrors an ancient imperial tribute system, where a subordinate state sends high-value goods to a central power, just to gain the permission to exist in its presence. This dating tax becomes systemic sabotage in an economy where housing costs are astronomical. If he tries the wallet test and finds she doesn't move for her purse by the third date, he is trapped. Any man who asks for a 50-50 split is branded the most hated creature in the market. He is playing a claw machine designed to eat coins. While a bad date in the West is a shared $20 loss, here it is a $100 unilateral transfer of wealth. He is a creditor in a fraudulent contract. The hypocrisy reaches its absolute zenith with the rise of the so-called professional woman. Imagine a high-level manager at a top-tier global firm, out-earning 70% of her male peers since her 20s. She demands total equality in the boardroom, yet the moment she enters a restaurant, she undergoes a psychological regression. She confesses that despite her massive salary, she still expects to be treated to a 10,000 Korean won bowl of noodles just to feel loved. This is the professional parasite archetype. She earns the salary of a leader, but demands the subsidies of a dependent. It is a Janus face strategy, where she operates in two contradictory systems. In the office, she is a warrior for equal pay. On a date, she is a merchant of contradiction, demanding a zero-pay existence. If she dislikes a man, she pays half to avoid being indebted. But if she likes him, she expects him to pay for everything as proof of his devotion. The more she likes you, the more she taxes you. In London or New York, a woman buying dinner is a power move. In Seoul, it is a total loss of face. The male is no longer a partner. He is a surrogate father with a credit card. This princess complex creates a total market freeze, driving the birth rate down to 0.72. Even the dating account, a shared card with 200,000 Korean won deposits, is failing as a last bastion of rationality. The hydra of entitlement has two heads. One screams for equality, the other devours the male's wallet. Fuel the truth at dating in Korea, support the structure, stay safe in the lounge,